I want to move on, actually, if I may, and talk about a subject that, if you're a regular viewer of mine, you will know I am incredibly passionate about. What do I speak about, of course? The vaccine mandate that's been applied or has the potential to be applied across healthcare. You will know that I launched a campaign on this show called Outdate the Mandate, to call on the government to stop this kind of sacking for those people that remain unvaccinated. Well, joining me now to discuss this, employment lawyer Stephen Jackson. Good evening, Stephen. I tried to speak to you yesterday, but the signal was not that great, so hopefully we'll have better success tonight. Now, sure. We kind of had Sajid Javid's announcement live on this show a few days ago when it happened. At the time, it felt like quite a success that actually this mandate might not happen. I think, got to say, the devil is in the detail. We're learning more about what this may or may not look like. And we've had lots of concerns raised to us, Stephen, by the viewers that have been in touch with us, asking various questions. But first of all, in your mind, do you think this is a U-turn on that policy?
This is a U-turn. There's nothing to be concerned about, really. What this really is politics in terms of the message which is being sent out to the various employers. The decision or the notice from Sajid Javid to the House of Commons was to say that the mandate is disproportionate. That means it is unlawful. He then followed up by saying, well, he needs to engage in a consultation for a couple of weeks. He needs to test the will of the House and have a vote. And he's written that in his message to the various NHS trusts and universities. But that, frankly, is nonsense. He has all the power in his pen simply to revoke the regulations immediately. The fact is they're disproportionate now. They're disproportionate in 2 weeks' time. They'll be unlawful in 2 weeks' time. They're unlawful now. That's the long and the short of it.
Yeah, and I've had viewers contacting me quite concerned. So some of them are in situations where their trusts are still writing to them saying that because this hasn't been formally revoked, they still have to follow the process and have these vaccinations. What would you say to those people?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the message which Sajid Javid has given to the trust. He's written to them saying, hold off the dismissals, don't dismiss anyone, but please continue the good work. And that's that effect. I need to have consultation. That's not correct. If it's not proportionate or lawful to enforce a mandate through regulations, it's not proportionate or lawful to have any mandate or coercion through the universities or trusts themselves. If Sajid Javid can't do it, the trusts can't do it. So the idea that whether hospitals or trusts are telling their students, for example, that they can't complete their course, they can't come and sit an exam if they haven't had a vaccination or haven't shown the vaccination status, that is simply not on. They should be stopping that now. And for any individuals in that circumstance, they should be saying, no, I stand by my right to privacy. You're not entitled to know my vaccination status. And these mandates are disproportionate and unlawful. So please, let's get back to normal.
Yeah, and it's fascinating the point you make, because I know for a fact that various places are still writing to their staff, because I get viewers sharing their letters with me. Another question that I've been asked is around the re-registration. So obviously people have to stay current, stay registered. And there was some talk about, OK, we might kind of let it lie for existing staff, but new and future employment opportunities, we might look at that. Just to be absolutely clear, if someone is practicing now and they need to, renew their registration, what would that look like for them?
It's exactly the same thing. It's not proportionate to have a mandate, and that means to throw people out of their job or to stop them coming into a job. That's not proportionate under the regulations. It will remain not proportionate outside of the regulations, whether they're revoked or not. So they should continue, as I said, they are entitled to continue with the registration. This should make no difference. What's going to happen is if these regulations are revoked, then that might stop the judicial review and the legal challenge to the regulations. Once they're gone, nothing left to challenge. But if they attempt to do the same thing through the side door, the legal challenge goes on somewhere else. It'll go directly to the universities, directly to the trusts. They will find themselves subject to discrimination complaints from many thousands of people potentially.
If you will, my last question, so brief, just for time reasons with your answer. I've also been asked if someone handed in their resignation because they didn't want to meet the deadline. Of course, people will be aware it was the 3rd of February today. Actually, today was the deadline. So some people have already put their notice in because they didn't want to do this. What happens to them? Are they in a situation, are they allowed to revoke their notice? Because I've seen a message from someone who's tried to say, actually, let me take back that kind of notice that I've said and not been allowed to do so.
It'll be very fact specific depending on what they wrote in the notice and what they said. What I would suggest to everyone is to join the Workers of England Union. They're not political, and that's the point. So they're not tied in supporting the mandates or any other way, but they've been very active and actually providing some direct support to individuals, and they can do so now. So it's fact specific. Get advice, I'd suggest, but definitely worth trying to keep the job. And frankly, they need you.
Jackson, thank you very much for your insight there. I'm going to throw this to the panel. Charlotte, your thoughts?
I mean, there is a workforce crisis in the NHS, and so it was the worst possible timing. But I also feel that, you know, if you work in medicine, you should believe in science and you should therefore have the vaccine. And particularly if you're working on the front line and potentially with vulnerable people. So actually, you know, OK, yes, maybe delay it, but I still think it's an important thing.
And people watching this, Charlotte, will say, I do work in medicine, I do believe in science, etc. And I also believe in natural immunity. A lot of these people were exposed at length to COVID for a variety of, you know, patients and experiences, etc., right at the start of this, and will have natural immunity.
And we also know the immunity wanes.
We do indeed. Hence, there's a whole conversation about proportionality for a vaccine that really gives you high protection only for a short period of time. But Kevin, you're desperate to come in, I can tell.
Well, I know
you're burnt fire. I'm getting hands up all over the place.
You're obviously, and fair play to you, because you did call it right, and it has proven impossible for the government to put this policy through. I do hope, though, contrary to the sort of tone of your chat and with the lawyer there, I hope that trusts and institutions keep working as hard as they can just within the law to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
So you agree with coercion?
Encouragement, not coercion.
But
and I know I'm going to say something you'll like, right? I have changed my mind before. I thought that we should have to compel people for the greater good to get vaccinated, but actually there was such a reaction, some really good contributions from workers and doctors, and it was persuasive. Not coercion, but immense encouragement.
The other, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I'm a great believer in science as well, and I really, you know, genuinely understand what Charlotte's saying and Kevin, but I disagree. I think, you know, freedom is a really important value. Free choice, privacy, the right to privacy.
What, Kev, all those people, freedom not to get vaccinated, keep the country in a pandemic, stop us recovering. I'm fed up listening to all the freedoms, Kev.
See me, I believe, see on the job, I believe get the job early and take as many as you can get. So I'm mad for them. But here's the thing, when you live in a democracy and you believe in pluralism, surely you gotta not dismiss people's right to exercise a different choice from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you surely don't agree with that, do you? You don't believe that anyone should be essentially forced to have a vaccine if they don't want it?
No, but I just feel at times in this pandemic, Michelle, there's been sometimes too much conversation about the rights of the person who doesn't want, not for health reasons, but out of ideology, not to get vaccinated, when the rest of society was suffering longer and harder as a result of that. And that's frustrating. But I do have a lot of time and empathy for the points and the discussion you have about immunity, and there are other ways of looking at whether someone's going to get it. But I just think the balance is we wouldn't be in this position if so many people hadn't got vaccinated. We'd all be at home.
Well, we are where we are, and I do feel passionate, and anyone that's watched this show will know my thoughts. You know, if everyone wants to have the vaccine, fantastic. However, it is obvious that some people do not, and I will passionately defend their right to choose. I also believe firmly that the government needs to adapt positions once the situation changes, and I think it's evident that the situation has changed, and I think it's also evident that the vaccine does not stop you from transmitting COVID. Anyway, I do understand it is a divisive topic, lots of mixed opinions, so keep yours coming in as well. GB Views at gbnews.uk.